Okay, so every year we report a little bit about what we have done in the period since the last conference. And after that, we will have a look at the annual budget report from the last year. And we will have some thoughts on how we might proceed after this conference. And from there, it's blank. I won't tell you anything. So, the people on the board, as you hopefully know and recognize, are all volunteering. And so our resources to do stuff are a little bit limited because everybody is working in their spare time. And most of the resources and energies goes into organizing the annual conferences. For example, this time, for the first time, we did some tracking of the hours we spent. And in the month before the conference, for every single one, this was more than 20 hours per week. And nevertheless, we constantly try to keep our eyes open and to keep on track with what's going on in the 360 world. And this involves that we visit several other events and conferences and also try to be present at these events with a table, booth, whatever, to represent what we are doing and to get new contacts. For example, Dennis was at a 2 days journalism conference in New York City. We participated in the VR days in Los Angeles and in Vienna with good success, and visited several conferences in France and Europe. And hold on. Besides these conferences, we try to improve our presence on the web, for which purpose we built the Facebook group, as Google Plus has closed their services. The Facebook group is available to members only, but which is also the only group where panoramas do spin. I mean, there's a lot of social groups, but you don't have some real interactive content that you can present. And, there went something mixed. There was also a women's event, a VR meetup in Los Angeles. This should have been mentioned before, sorry for that. So this is the place where the Google group, where the Facebook group comes into place. And also one thing that Tanya has started is kind of an intern program. This year, for the first time, we have been working with an intern, a very talented young lady in her 3rd grade in Mauritius. So this country, as you may have noticed, is a little bit overrepresented this year at the conference, but this is just by chance, of course. And yeah, I think it was a great success to work with the intern. She helped us a lot, and we certainly will look at it for the next future to see how we can proceed with this kind of help. In the next step, Dennis will present to you So how does this change now? I have it on my display.
You need to quit the PowerPoint. It will show up after.
Okay. Let me try this.
Yeah, there you are.
Okay, you want to stand here in front?
So, 2018 has not been very smooth in terms of doing our taxes, doing basically all the report. When we report in 2000, when we're doing our, basically as a non-profit organization, we are obliged to do a very scrutinized, basically IRS report to the government. And usually this takes place in May of the current year. So we have actually done 2019 in time. For the 2018, I didn't achieve clarity in the Vienna conference. And I felt that because it was not reached and my competence was limited to solve the issue, we have hired a formal New Yorker accountants, which now is part of the team with IVRPA. This is an important, it releases the duty of the treasurer to do the accounting. That's the positive things about hiring an accountant. So basically, because of that and to achieve clarity, it helped us to actually be in time for the extension of the IRS. And I'm going to talk about what the numbers are. But basically, we are up to date with all our financial aspect. So if you look at the total liability that was available to us on December 2017, because you have to remember that we're doing the 2017 in 2018 and we're doing the 2019, etc. So we had 128,242.96. And if you pay attention to one aspect of the balance, you see here advance to Florian Frey, $23,000. So this is something that we are in discussion with Mr. Frey. We were in obligations to hire a lawyer, and basically that's will be continue that discussion as we go on about this $23,000 that is displayed. So I'm not going to give you more details because it's actually, we have our lawyers and we're still processing with the steps needed to address positively this issue, on both for Mr. Frey and ourselves. So that's basically, so in terms of financial, we still higher than $100,000. We have been, most of that at the end of the years, doing very well since 2015 in terms of financial aspects. So this is good. We the financially still stable as an association, a non-profit 513C type of association, which is very important for every members to remember this. For normal BUD work, the 20 hours a week, we get $0. Remember, so. And having said that, I think I've been serving as a treasurer for 5 years, and I'm not renewing my elections. So in December, we're certainly looking strongly, and we hope someone from the community will present himself or herself as potential treasurer. Ideally, I would love to have someone who's saying to me quicker than later, because there's this smooth transition is always better than a hardcore transition between treasurers. So you may have some questions. So
I'm actually going to jump into this. I was interim treasurer for the IVRPA before Dennis gladly took over the job. And from my experience, it is crazy important to have a smooth transition period. And we're currently talking about potentially 6 months period, where the new treasurer can learn all the ropes, can learn how the accountant works, learn what he has to do, what he doesn't have to do. I was just thrown into the mix. I had no idea what I'm doing, and it was basically just literally interim job. So I want to emphasize a little bit more Dennis's plea, like, ideally, if somebody feels like he can help with being a treasurer for the IVRPA, please come forward this evening. Even if you're here, feel like you want to do it, you want to help. It is not as crazy work as it was before, but it would be extremely helpful to come out early. Thank you.
Anybody else? If there's any questions actually regarding our current state's financial aspect. Yes?
Looking at the net income, is that primarily from membership, or are there other income streams that you see on an annual basis?
So not in this version right now that you see it, but I can give you numbers though. It's about $30,000 from membership. So usually our revenue comes about 30% from membership. The rest of it is sponsorship, conducting the conference and so forth. So that's basically what the numbers are.
Okay, thanks.
It's actually kind of, it's not a torture to be a treasurer. It's kind of fun to pay for venues, for connecting with people, getting the money from the sponsors. It's not as it looks like that bad. I think it's actually, you know, it makes you important, but at the same time you have to be reliable and ready for action. Well, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, from here, I mean, this is more or less the how do you say, the official part that we reported about our work and what we've done and what the bank accounts look like. And the conference is finished, and from here we are more or less free or open to see and discuss how we want to proceed from here. There certainly, hopefully, will be another conference next year, but what will happen in between depends not only upon us, but also on the members that we have. I cannot stress this enough. Whenever you want to do something, or you feel you need to do something to be present somewhere, or to get to a group of whatever people that you want to share the word about VR 360 or anything that you are doing or that is important for what we all are doing, please contact us. We will try to help you in any way we can. And yeah, so this is one thing that I can say. The other thing is we as the board members are also constantly trying to improve the work that we are doing with different success. And there also, for example, the way that we organized the conference has significantly changed this year than in the years before. There where we had more or less one person that was in charge of almost anything of the conference, and which we have figured out is totally exhausting and not really healthy for the association and for the people that did it. So this year we found a way to split tasks among almost all of us in different pieces. There also were helpers from outside. And it went differently, but hopefully it went well. I mean, I heard no big complaints. I didn't hear any complaints here. But of course, there's always room for improvement. And we will have a look at how everything went the way we did it here, and try to find out where we can move from here. At the moment, everybody needs a rest for more or less a couple of days. And so this is one thing. And the other thing is also the way how we want to move this association forward, which is kind of difficult, as I said, because we have to do it in our free time. There is no how do you say that? Even that will be difficult. The point is, when you do something and want to improve it, and you're looking at it from your own position, the chances to change anything are not very high. So we also need some input from outside. This is what I wanted to say. So if you have ideas of where you want us all see to go with this association, please get in touch. But please also be prepared to be asked if you could be helpful in this regard, because we all also have many ideas. Everybody has many ideas. The problem is it needs someone to get them into real. So you've been warned. What else? Somebody here wants to take the word and say something? Or because if not so, we need to get something out of the bag that you brought, or is it?
Before we do that, we may ask questions.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes. That is a good point. No, there was nothing anyway, but I can show you to prove it. Let me see. Yeah, this would be the time now to let the members ask questions or say something that is bugging them. Can you give the microphone to Jürgen, please?
Hey, so I have a question about the board members going to various conferences and so on. Do we have some form of reports, impressions when they came back to talk a little bit to the members about the event? What was the event? What benefit was for the IVRPA? Specifically for members, should they go next year to that certain thing? Or would it have something helpful for them? So like, yes, I don't need to go to that conference because IVRPA already went there. I read about it, and yeah, it's not for me, or it would be actually very interesting for me. Do we have something like that?
This is an expert that we certainly should take into consideration. So far, when we do something like this, it's more like trying to establish contacts and see how and where we can connect people, like getting, how do you say this? Getting personal contacts and establishing relationship to see where you can connect people from one side to the other. This is, how do you say this? Different than going somewhere and writing just a report about it. Because from my perspective, this would be kind of too...
So basically, I think what we trying to do with the conference when we attending, first, now we have a form, we ask the person who is interested to do that to fill it, ask the question, what's the benefits for the associations before we finance this? And what we're talking about is about $3,000 to $4,000 a year, right? We were clear, we're not talking a large amount of money, right? So basically what we do is, once this is approved by the board, and before we didn't have that form, I just introduced that this year, but Basically, we hoping that the connections, we get us sponsors. So we're looking for other sponsors. We are getting, hopefully, more contact, getting more membership. I mean, in my case, when I was in New York, I went to see Howard the accountant, and then, well, why I'm there, why not? I'm going to this conference at the same time. So, and basically what I did is I talked to the journalism, we basically exchange ideas, so they are aware now a little bit more what Journalism 360s are and IVRPA. This is about what we can do in terms of this. So I think the future for our association is to ask our question, do we need a conference every year? Probably everybody will say yes. Do we need to be, for instance, necessarily in May? Probably. We can have actually other months that we can think about. Why I'm mentioning this? Because I know it's almost like non-stop from December to here to get prepared for this. If we had December to October, then it's probably going to be smoother, hopefully. This, you know, this sort of ideas that we want to hear from you. I mean, it's a lot of work in some ways. We could decide to hire someone, but you have to be careful as the treasurer thinking about this. It's easy to spend money with little success there, right? So having said that, basically what we are looking for is ideas. We are facing challenges. There's a lot more competition around. So we need to perhaps refresh ourselves, and we need some help, not only with us, but with you. So that's why hopefully some of you have some ideas and can use microphone.
So I'm not totally satisfied necessarily with this answer because there's no benefit for the members at the moment from this reply. So I would really encourage the board to take also the membership into consideration, because we as sponsors and members pay for this. And we think that given the multitude of VR conferences out there, I mean, 10 years ago we spoke of like 10, 20 conferences a year. Now we do over 500,000 conferences worldwide. And the board attending them is, for me, is a very good thing. But as a member, I also want to get something out of it and get an impression about, is this conference worth it to visit or not?
I agree totally, and I think there's a lot of things that need to be changed because time is changing and everything change. You know, as you say, there's a lot of other conferences, there's a lot of things that happen in the VR world, and I think IVRPA needs to change, and change takes time, especially for an organization that exists for more than 20 years. We need more of our community help because we all volunteers, or we need to decide if we're going to invest money in sourcing these changes that will benefit more the members. This is something that will touch the financial side, of course, taking risk maybe in this position. But this needs to be decided by everybody, and also I would like to see more of our members come in and helping, and not only ideas how to improve. We need more people to actually do stuff and help us, because this is a community with, we are like everybody else. Everybody have a job, everybody have personal life, and if we want to stay IVRPA as a community, we need people to support it and to help.
I can speak to that for volunteers. I'm from Los Angeles. I organized an event in Los Angeles for Virtual Reality Day. It was, I can't remember what day, it was in the fall. I asked our memberships for help. I got nobody. I had to reach out to students at a university to get help. to organize a fun-filled event where people could look through VR and have VR experiences. So it was exhausting, and I would really love some support when I asked for help.
Yeah, we have microphone.
I want answer or go to you for your question about when is a good time for the conference. I think the conference has one goal is the content, what we see when we are here, and the speakers, and another big goal is the location. And the most important question all the day was, where will be the next IVRPA conference, which town? So you know it's not only the content, also the location is also maybe a travel thing. So with the travel aspect is the weather also a big aspect. So I think when we change it a little bit in the summer time, so it's more interesting for the location part. But when you go in the winter, you will maybe less people here in the room. No much. There will be not more people coming here in the winter, I think. Maybe. But I think on the table when we go in the bar last days, any speculation where the next place is for the conference? So it's. When you're thinking about change, then more in the summer time, I think it's a good idea.
We will talk about the next conference later. Let's have some other questions.
Oh, I was just going to build on that slightly and say, because most of us capture imagery, I can see a practical relevance to doing it at around this time of the year, because you've got fairly long days. So after the conference is over, it gives delegates a chance to potentially go and capture the beautiful places where a conference is held. So that gives you probably a 2-3 month window in the middle of the year where we've got optimum light levels. And once you take out school holidays for people who have a personal life and possibly childcare things, it probably gives you May, June or September as kind of more optimal times. That's my opinion. I personally, I'd be open to other times of the year, but I think if you want to get a good attendance, you probably have those kind of inputs to think about. And also it costs a lot more in the middle of the summer to travel because of the school holidays.
That being said, there's dozens, hundreds of other VR conferences that we're competing against now. And where people would come to this conference, now they're going to the other conferences instead. So to your point, yes, I think you're right, but also there's more competition at the same time. Like just before this conference, AWE was taking place in Silicon Valley, and that's where Janie Fitzgerald, a member, went.
And there's stuff in London at the moment, and it's London Tech Week. I mean, sorry, there's a conference in London at the moment, plus it's London Tech Week. I'm conscious of other members and lots of other demands. I guess I don't know, because the sector has developed and because there's more demand for talent and for people to participate, it's always going to be hard. Maybe what I'm saying reflects the roots of this group, because actually it grew out of potentially content creators rather than developers and people who maybe don't care as much for light dependency, for lack of a better word.
That being said, then we're also competing for sponsors who are also at other events.
Hi, I just quickly wanted to say thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been a great few days. It's I think it's the 4th conference now, and I've loved everyone. Quick observation, nearly all of the presentations we've had have included a line which basically says we need to concentrate on content rather than the technicalities. Content is king, and I think that's right. So I think it was a great idea to have the 360 video headset curated, sort of showing all those content. and I would probably encourage maybe for future ones for that to continue, but also to encourage all members to bring in their own content, whether that's on the headsets, whether that's prints or whatever, and really just bring in the end result of what we're trying to do here rather than the equipment. That would be great. But one thing I found very surprising about this conference, which I thought was very positive indeed, was I noticed that there was more diversity this year. We've got a long way to go, but there was some excellent content speakers who are females, for the filmmakers in particular. Superb, and I think that should be encouraged. And maybe why not put a statistic at this opportunity. How many members? How many are from which countries? How many are women? How many are whatever? Why not? And we can really start to see what the makeup of our association is. And I think that would actually add a bit of freshness for the future, and would encourage numbers to increase. That's my impression anyway. But thank you anyway.
Thank you.
Hi guys. So I really enjoyed these conferences. I've gotten a lot out of them. It's really fun this year to be able to share back a little bit what we've gotten out of it at Boeing. Few comments, I guess. The communication and the asking for help note. My guess is people aren't always on social media, and so I think we might want to look at a different way to communicate with the members, especially. I know a lot of friends and other people on the team are not on Facebook specifically. So if we want to share and communicate, maybe look at direct email or another way to reach out and connect without direct social media. While that's a great way to share photography images, and I think it's getting a lot of participation, and that's been great, it's maybe not the best way to reach out and ask for help or communicate directly with people. It's more of a kind of a sharing platform. Sorry, I got a couple more. One thing I thought was a good note from Brian, I'm going to steal your thunder here, is not everybody knows everybody, and especially those of us who've been coming to these and those of us who are new. The name tabs are great, but maybe we can make a different colored ones for the board members so everybody knows who you guys are. So maybe share that around a little bit and kind of know who's who. Oh, okay.
Just a quick comment to add to that. Names on both sides.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, there's a mic over there. So.
I'd just like to say about the social media and such, we do have private forums on the IVRPA website, which everyone should feel free to use and check in with regularly. You can also subscribe to these forums so it will notify you of new messages, et cetera, so the solution is already in place.
Well, hopefully everybody's using it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The other thing I just keep noticing is I don't know that we're. I'd love to see this group grow. I have a very soft place in my heart for this group, and I think we're putting a lot of pressure on the board to grow it, to live it, to own it, and I think there's a lot of ways we could look at offloading some of that pressure on you guys, and maybe we could look at maybe an event planner or somebody to be able to specializes in international events to be able to help with offloading some of that pressure on you, and then also look at onboarding sponsors and we have some amazing expertise in this community, and being able to help drive the industry and get feedback directly to people like Nikon or big major camera manufacturers and say, hey, last system you guys made wasn't so great, this is why, these are some things that might help you guys make better products and connect us better with the industry at large. And instead of just being kind of in the background and learning from what's coming out, we can maybe start driving the industry.
It's a great. Do you know somebody from Nikon or Canon that you can contact?
Yep.
Well, we always appreciate a help.
We'll get back to you.
I want to speak to the email situation. I'm aware that there's an email situation. To the board, I only know 2 people who actually sent and wrote emails, and the excuse I heard was that we are native English speakers, and that can't be an excuse. I can't be writing all the communications for the entire board. Emails do need to go out, and I got us an intern to help us, and nobody relied on her to write an email. So it's kind of on us if we want to communicate to the board and to our members. Social media is huge, and it's an important tool of communication, but you're right, email is also a huge, important tool of communication for most of our members.
We grow from 2015 to 300 members, and today we're 600. So let's give you an approximate numbers of how many members there are.
We are optimistic.
As for the conference,
Thanks. I mean, like, are you able to give us a breakdown of, is it possible to give us a breakdown of what regions those people are predominantly from? And are there ways that we could look at reaching out, maybe more people from China or East Asia, more people who, as you say, aren't native English speaking, but have great talent and enthusiasm? And are there ways that you can use the existing membership to act as advocates to help that? Taking on board, it's not all on your shoulders, but are there ways that we could look at doing that with more information?
I mean, right now you can have access to who are the members and where they come from already. You can search that on our website, basically. For instance, also in B2 Match, for instance, also you can find where everybody comes from exactly, and you have a map as well to where it comes from. Yeah, I think it's, we still have more competition. We're surviving, and we're not really declining. We're slightly declining, depending on the month you're talking about. Sometimes we are more, sometimes we're a little bit less, but it's not growing anymore. So we need to re-energize somehow.
I had something to say about our conference and how it's perceived. And our competition conferences, they are something that it's quite different. All big conferences now that VR is becoming a kind of a major media are sponsored, are up from down. I think that if we have a kind of identity, is that our kind of conference is just on pair. People that's here on the stage and people that's there listening are on pair. And when we go out from this room and we meet for a coffee, it's a moment in which our conference has an identity and shines. You see software people speaking with content creators, artists speaks to scientists. So I think that this kind of identity has to remain and to be our force point, our leverage, even against our competitor conferences. So getting known as the place that in which professionals and a creator of the media meet the other creators of the media is our way to grow. We will never grow so big that we lose this identity. So that's everything I wanted to say. Sorry.
Cool. I really agree, and I would like to add actually to this, and also to bring up your point that how do you get content for a conference? Because content is king, as we learned in this conference, and the speakers on stage are, it's what's at very hard, what attracts people to go to a conference. So I think what would help is like when you guys go out there on another conference and see a speaker, see a topic that you would like to see here on stage as well, really contact this person after the conference, speak to them, say, hey, we have another conference, would you, just your content would fit greatly into this, and here's a connection to the board member, whoever is going to organize the next one, because that would help basically this running around the 3 months before the conference, like, yes, great, we have a conference, what do we do? Who is going to talk? And so you don't have to go always back to the same usual suspects, if I want to call them like this, but you have like a new open pool of like what you saw outside, what's interesting, what interests you, interests probably many others in the members as well. Plus it would also help us to get more of the off-ball topics. Like the beautiful presentation from Henry Segerman that we saw, like this is like, I like this side curveball that came in there that warped my mind appropriately. And I would like to see more of this. Like less of the usual content, more of the future content. And you guys would be really great if you guys could help with curating the next show.
Completely agree. Also, we want to see some art contents. We want to see contents that are not directly 100% in our word, but we want to see all the tangent word we can learn from. So it's a good thing. Yes, please make a wish list. When you see something that's really makes you see wow, send it to us. Or if you are at a conference, that's a good reason to be in conferences, in any kind of subjects that are close to us. When you see something, contact the guy, cross contact with us. It's always having a wish list to start with when you compose the palimpsest of the speaker is really helpful.
Who organizes the speakers? You?
This year, yes.
And
with the help of everybody and suggestions from everybody, this year I was in charge to do that.
It's interesting to know who's next year. Thank you.
This is just a time check. It's 6 o'clock.
Thank you, producer.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
I think one of the things that we differentiate ourselves from the large business-oriented VR conferences, in which the purpose is often more 100% doing business. I think we are, I hope that our members understand that we are closer to the people who present. We're more humanistic in some ways. We have eye contacts a lot more. I think that's what makes IVRPA so, hopefully, that we don't want to lose at this point. Yes?
Uli says we have to advertise more.
The identity, yes.
Anybody who went to this conference who would actually, that wouldn't go afterwards. Sorry. So what makes this conference so special, nobody outside the IVRPA knows that. But the moment that people come here, they say, wow, this conference really is different. And I get something completely different. I meet with people, I exchange ideas. Something that most conferences just have somewhere on their agenda, and advertising is not, but it's not happening on most, during most conferences. It is happening here. Nobody knows about that.
Yeah, just add to that, most conferences exist to make money. This conference exists for our members, and that's a big, big difference. But there's also a reason why if we do see somebody and want to invite them to speak, we have to remember that our starting point is we don't pay for speakers. Whereas most conferences, because they're raking in tons of money, then there's this whole backwards and forwards of fees and everything.
Okay. First, I will to say thank you for your effort. I know it's a hard work to do that. It's my 5th participation in the conference, but this year is the first time I was in the side of the sponsors or the vendors or whatever. And I have a couple of suggestions about that, because I think it's very important if we want to keep sponsors. It's very important to facilitate or to think about them and to think that they must to get an ROI of what they do here. And this year, I think any of the sponsors that were there have got any ROI. And the problem is, so I have two suggestions about that. The first is for the next conferences. The first is the conference must be on the same level. The problem here, and I didn't see that on the other conference I was, is there is this level, so people are there and are on the conference normally, but to move to the market space, they had to go down, then they had to go up. It's an effort. I mean. And then also there is another question, is some other times there were monitors on the market space, so people can also follow the conferences from there, and this year not. And I think it's a mistake. So it's just a positive things I say to improve for next year, because this, I think, is very important. We care about that, because otherwise sponsors will not come, because it's expensive, and if you don't, I have been alone 80% of the time.
Yeah, so just to add on this, because same as Ignacio, I was also on both sides of the aisle. I had conferences where we felt like that the sponsors are treated as cash cows and not as valuable members of the community. And I would really like to see this change in the future of the IVRPA.
I'm sure we 100% agree on that, but could you write this down, the improvements that you think we should make or need to make, and then otherwise we will forget anyway. So yeah.
Maybe
Joby?
Just, could I make a suggestion? We've been talking a lot about feedback. I guess maybe for us in the room, never mind the members who are watching and those we're going to reach out to again, maybe we could have a single place to be able to make suggestions, whether it's an email address or a form on the IVRPA website, and we direct everybody, vendors, attendees, board members. We're all going to remember things at different times about what we've just been to, or we may all get leads at different times. Sam's probably going to tell me it's there already, but I don't know about it if it is. So maybe there's a way of us taking on board some of the kind of UX skills of some of the members here and just trying to help promote some of that information. That it doesn't go onto any one email address for you guys, and it's a way of all of us to have that single channel. Yeah.
For example, using the existing web forums.
Maybe some people want to make anonymous feedback, and that's why I'm suggesting about like having a contact form or an email.
Also,
not all
exist.
feedback's good, and I think that airing too much stuff in private might actually put people off. I think it's good to get feedback, but it might be good to have a mechanism, like many other industries and organizations do, where that can be anonymous, not to promote bad stuff, but just to get everything leveled out.
Do you mean a way for people to post anonymously, like here's an anonymous suggestion, or a way for people to submit directly to the directors, like a form or email?
Well, just taking on board what people have said about, Ignacio just mentioning about stuff that he's found out from a first-hand point of view, and Jürgen saying, can you write this down?
Right.
Rather than that being emailed to Jürgen or to somebody else, like just a single kind of channel where all of that gets collected, or where I can say, hey, I really enjoyed this, but maybe where I could also write anonymously and say something was bad, but I don't want to embarrass anybody.
You want this?
Joby, can I speak? We do a survey at the end of every conference. Do you want more than a survey?
I think it's also picking up on the idea of not just at the end of the conference, but an ongoing thing. So,
Okay.
like the call for speakers. If I go to a VR meetup in London or Manchester and I see somebody that I know, I can make that suggestion via that one route, as opposed to going, oh, God, which board member should I write to, or should I post it on a forum? Just for, and you can work out who checks that, or whether that goes on a spreadsheet or a database to collate the data, but a single input point that facilitates different things. And because we all know what it's like in a multi-platform, multi-channel world. Sometimes stuff gets lost, and maybe just having that single ingest point is enough to be able to get more information that will benefit us as members and you guys as organizers.
I mean, the post-conference feedback is incredibly useful and important to do, really, really valuable. But something that's 365 days a year would also be additionally very, very helpful, I think, in some form.
Any suggestions for specific use of the existing forums and existing channels within the website? Please feel free to post them, send them to me, send them to any of the directors, and we will do what we can to implement them. I have been all about encouraging more membership use of the existing forums, and if people were to use them, we would have everything more or less, what you're suggesting. And in addition, the surveys Tanya mentioned.
info@ivrpa.org, but maybe there should be a button on our website to encourage people to send us an email. That would help too.
We can make it more prominent, the contact page. Good suggestion.
I don't want to break this party up, but we need to clear out this venue, and these guys have been working really hard, really long, all day, all week long, so I'm sure they want to get home, right? And yeah, so let's wrap this up if we can.
Thanks to the video crew also.
And I want to thank all the guys that helped us from the bottom of our heart, because they did a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
Well, I would like to have Thomas on the stage, please.
We have a local hero here who even ruined his health to help us organize this conference. Thomas did a tremendous amount of work, and he was so helpful, and there wasn't the smallest incident during this conference, and it's totally awesome. So Thomas is a friend at hand. You cannot read this, but it's written on this bottle here. And, oh, sorry, wrong side. And as a symbol of our thankfulness, please take this bottle, and hopefully it's to your health. And keep up your good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, due to the time gap, we skip this point because there's not so much to say at the moment anyway. If you want to discuss it, we can do it during the dinner, but I suggest we don't do it now.
I just...
Uh-huh.
No, I got it. I just get to give a stink eye over there, and I just wanted to give a special thanks to Juan and Kiara, who were absolutely integral to this conference too. So thank you guys. And thank you to all of you For sure. This has been a very great members meeting. I think this was the most active members meeting that I've ever been to. So thanks for the feedback, and we're listening, and we appreciate all your help. Oh, and Stella, I don't know if you can see us, but thank you so much too. You've been wonderful. So, yeah, Stella's great. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you.